Hi, good afternoon. Who? I said good afternoon, friends. You can't do this. You know, it's my job to keep you awake, but it's your job to keep all of us awake. Yeah, otherwise all of us will go on sleep. You know what happens in retail? Your khali dukaan hai, बैठे हुए, खड़े हुए, suddenly customer aa gaya and asked for a thing that you don't have in the shop. Now that's the situation we got in today. The earlier moderator, for whatever reason, could not make it. So Roy Saab called me and said, can you moderate? So, so we tried to meet and we tried to discover a topic that we want to discuss to enjoy, okay? And if you have some questions, please ask as we go through. This is actually a very tough subject, you know. How do you collaborate on pricing? But before we collaborate in pricing, the five of us, when we were discussing, we got 3 or 4 statements for ourselves. I just want to repeat the statement because this is the reality of life. The first statement is India is getting highly polarized. Highly polarized. And it is so polarized. On one side, you talk of the richest in the world. On the other side, you talk of people who don't have 2 meals. On one side, you have a garment being sold at 200,000 rupees. And on side, you're talking of a garment being sold at 399. And both of them are creating value in their own way. So the first statement for India is it's getting highly polarized. The second statement is everybody says I'm seeking value. Okay, but neither we know what value means for them nor they know what value means for them. Okay, I have a daughter who's in her 30s. She came back one day, and I know she doesn't spend much money. She came back from US and she was wearing a fabulous Ralph Lauren shirt. I said, wow, when did you start buying these $200 shirts? She said, no, I bought it from a thrift shop for $25. So my wife said, किसी का पहना हुआ कपड़ा फिर से पहन रही है क्या? So this is the reality because we don't know what value means. This is the second reality. As I was talking to these gentlemen who are all accomplished people, they come out with 3 statements and we'll revolve our discussions around that. First they said is there has to be a brand value proposition. Okay, which means the brand should know what is the value that they want to talk about. Yeah? The second was saying there should be a product value proposition. When I'm creating a product, I should know what I should get out of this product as a pricing and a value. And the third interesting thing was there should be a customer value proposition, what the customer perceives of this product. So our whole discussions will revolve around these 3, the brand value proposition, the product value proposition, and the customer value proposition. But keeping this in mind, we said if you have to look at the topic given to say, can we really look at fashion pricing by collaboration, where should we start with? I want to start with Nitin, yeah? Because he had a very interesting statement which he made. He says, if in the fashion business, online, if our returns are 35%, there's a huge amount of price we lose because of the returns, yeah? I want you to talk about it and say, what is the solution that you see? If somebody here has to seek a solution from you, what would be your solution for them or suggestion for them?
Sure. So I'll talk about returns when it comes to, if you're seriously looking at the pricing, so what we are actually doing is we are embedding the price of the return done by the customer into the price itself. And that is being paid by the customer who's actually taking the product, who's actually taking the delivery of the product and keeping the product. So what we're trying to do is the customers who are actually returning it, and the return rate, everybody knows in India for fashion garment is somewhere around 30, 35, or probably it goes higher up to 40% as well. So we take that 40% of the return cost because the brand has to bear that cost, and we embed that into the cost of that 60%, which the customers are actually keeping that. So that is the real challenge, and it increases the price of the product also, which is being paid by few of the customers. And we need to deter these casual purchases which is happening at the moment, or probably it could be because of the sizes. So there are 2-3 problems which are predominantly which is there. So one is all our orders are COD, 60-70% of the orders are coming for COD. So that's one of the problems in return, because the intent probably might not be there for the customer, or they are just trying to choose between 3-4 options and they'll keep one and return 2 because the returns are free. So the intent of buying 3 or 4 pieces is absolutely not there, and which is costing us those 3 returns coming back to us. That's problem number 1. to the standardization of the sizes, which is not there in India as compared to in international markets. And hence, these are genuine returns because of the sizes. And the third problem is with the fake returns which are happening at the moment, which the customers take the product and they have their own ways of mending it out. They just pull your tag out, put it onto a different product and send it back and come back to you, and you're not able to solve that problem. It is all costing us at some point of time. The way we can solve it is the first collaboration which needs to happen with the marketplaces. I believe what needs to be done is that some amount of return cost has to be there for the customer to return the product. It should not be absolutely free. That will bring in some intent for the customer to purchase. They will be at least mindful when they're buying a particular product online.
So Nitin, I want to challenge you here, because instead of taking a decision as a brand owner, now you're passing it on to the marketplace. Okay? I'm saying as a brand owner, what's stopping you from saying, I will not do cash on delivery? Or what's stopping from saying, I will not allow you to buy more than 2 garments for my brand? Today, Zara gives you 4 garments and says, counts. 4 leke ja rahe ho ki nahi leke ja rahe ho. IKEA, you sell, it actually charges you for returns. So isn't it the brand's ability or the ownership to say, for me to make my business profitable, these are the rules of the way I want to sell? I mean, Zomato charges delivery charges, Blinkit charges delivery charges, they have surge pricing. I mean, look at what's happening to this country.
So the perception has come in. Pehle quick commerce nahi leta tha, free delivery karta tha. Now it has synced in into the system, and hence they are able to charge the customer. Now they are saying ki, okay, the customers are very savvy now. They will pay 30-40 rupees for the quick commerce when they are ordering the product online. At this point of time, are we saying ki wo mature nahi hua abhi tak, fashion marketplaces?
No, I don't think mature nahi hua. I just think that probably hum log dar ke jo hai, we are not able to take the decision. Let me ask the audience. How many of you, okay, will still buy if you are told that you can pick only 1 garment of your choice and not 3, 4 and return 3 of them? Fabulous. Huh? All the women are saying they still buy. All the men don't want to buy that.
So that's again a challenge, because only 5 people are going to buy it.
Challenge is the men don't buy, the women in their house buy. So that's the reason that they are saying that. No, I think it is important for the industry to take some calls, okay, where they are able to take control of their brand. Because the pricing is their proposition for the customer, and the value delivery is whatever. So anyhow, this is one problem that we identified. And we have to still resolve to say, what is it that you do if you have to look at returns to come down? Don't forget that in the brick and mortar retailing, even for fashion business, the return is between 3 to 5%. I mean, there it has not gone up. So it means the same customer going to a shop is willing to spend 20 minutes and try, but the same customer shopping online is just wanting to leave the burden on to you. So I don't know what you're thinking, but in my opinion, our poor customer is taking us for a ride. I mean, let's be very honest, because we are losing a lot of money on that.
Correct.
Yeah, 35% returns is a hell of a lot of money, because the reverse logistics, you pay for it. So keep this in mind. We'll try to see if there's any way forward. One way forward we're talking of is, it's your brand, it's your product, okay, you're losing money, you want to make profit, you better take a decision, okay? And I'm telling you, as an IKEA customer, I returned, I paid $300. I mean, it cost me a lot of money, okay? So take a call on that. So let's leave it at that point. The second is markdown, okay? And any one of us, if you want to pick up, you were talking about how markdowns differ based on channel. And you are saying if you collaborate with your channels, maybe you can save. So can you talk about the various channels and the markdown issues that you have?
Yeah. See, today, if you look at current retail market, especially for the brands, we have typically 4 channels. One was your own retail, where then we have a department store partner, and we have marketplace, and the 4th one is a general trade, which a lot of brands built on. See, traditionally, if you look at the markdown percentage as a business, general trade will be the least discounted product, because they buy the product outright, they own the product. Then second would be your retail, where customers are seeing your clear brand value, why they are spending that money. We will deliver great service, great quality experience for the customer. Third discount will be your department store, where you have to be in line with competition, where your pressure on, okay, my competition 1 is doing this kind of offer, I need to match the pricing. And 4th discount is from your marketplace. So as a brand, we have to take a stand. What's our positioning, how we're going to play for the brand game, identify what kind of product selling which channel, and curate the product, build your assortment right for each channel so that you balance your overall markdown. I think that's, which also requires a lot more collaboration with your partners, with the marketplace. Anand also can add here. So it kind of helps the brand to deliver the great brand value at the same time, app for each of the channel partners, and deliver right for their consumers.
But tell me one thing, it is also got to do with some power equation. बेचारा वो जनरल रिटेल वाला आपसे कुछ बोल नहीं सकता है, आप बॉस हो, उसके बाद में एक्सक्लूसिव ब्रांड आप खुद ही ओन करते हो, स्टॉक मैनेजर विल डू व्हाट यू डू, डिपार्टमेंट स्टोर में जाओगे तो वो नेगोशिएट करता है, मार्केट प्लेस आपकी सुनता नहीं है. I mean, is it also that situation, the power equation in the value chain?
Yeah, correct. That is also in a way true, but the partners are also evolving. So the general trade customers now, they see how a brand is performing across different. Now today everything is seamless. Today they'll be able to see what kind of offers you are giving, what kind of pricing you are offering in different customers. That's when the channel parity issue comes. For brand, try to have a differential pricing. So the best way to play that is you have a different assortment for different channels so that you are able to satisfy the need of every single partners.
So when you have different products for different channels, are you doing different pricing for those different products?
No, different products.
Okay. But doesn't it become too much of efforts to do that?
So that's an effort from a brand point of view, but to keep the brand promise standard, that's a...
Looking at the efforts versus profitability, is that effort worth the profitability?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's another lesson we are talking of, saying if you're dealing with multiple kinds of customers, then you have an assortment, can you actually work the assortment differently for different sets and price it accordingly? In fact, one of the things that yesterday somebody was talking to me is, because of an MRP regime, India has that unique thing where you price the product same MRP across the country. Okay, but if your product is differentiated and it has a different MRP, then why can't your MRPs be different in different states? I mean, the cost of retailing in Mumbai and Bangalore is much more than the cost of retailing in probably in Raipur or Jharkhand somewhere. So can there be a different pricing there? We're all talking about saying within the channels, how can you manage to do pricing in the fashion? Anand, I want you to pick it up from here and talk about this customer value proposition and still being able to not have this channel conflict and still be able to do pricing which is good for across everywhere. You do online, you do offline, you're a large brand, you've been in this country for a large year, so you've actually seen the whole way this value chain has moved.
Yeah, I think what I always believe is that the North Star that as any brand that should look into it would be the customer value proposition and how the brand is able to do a differentiated products. It could be through the innovation, could be in terms of capsule line, through trying to build differentiated product. And what we have been seeing is that wherever we are able to build a differentiated product, wherever there is an innovation, the consumer is willing to pay more, and we are able to charge a aspirational pricing rather than an Excel-based pricing. So that helps in terms of delivering a better customer value proposition. And also, we have seen that those products have a better full price sell-through, leading to lower markdown and so on, and better profitability. Mostly when we see that, it's mostly the look-alike products, the vanillas, where we also bet high depth, and we end up with a bit of discounting. So, it's important that at every channel, whether it's a retail, there is an environment, there is a certain consumer who's looking for a certain value proposition and certain product categories. In department store, we have a different value proposition. We have a different price matrix by which we are able to give that value to the consumer and build product stories, which will help us to differentiate in each of the channels. And similarly, online. So, for example, I will say from a collaboration point of view, in online, while we are saying that the reality is that the online built this whole return mechanism to largely to build the convenience to the consumer, because they were fighting with the brick and mortar that there is a touch and feel, the consumer is able to try it. Here there is no opportunity. So from an adoption point of view, this whole return policy and making it more convenient was made. So while returns is part of the game, what we can do is how do we minimize it? And that's where we collaborate with our marketplaces in terms of, because they have a lot of data, a lot of insights. So they share a lot of insights in terms of our best sellers, consumer insights, what they're looking for. And based on that, we are building exclusive lines and SMUs, which are differentiated from the brick and mortar categories. And that when we are building, when our mix of SMUs and OEs are increasing, automatically we are seeing that the discount is lesser and our returns is also lesser. So that's how we are able to build a value proposition.
I just got 2 words from you. One, you said we do a little bit of discounting. Now, in my opinion, India, a little bit of discounting is 70% now. Okay, so that's the way the discounts are moving. I suddenly remembered a story when a few years back I was involved in a research on pricing on Linking Road. Okay, those of you who know Mumbai and Linking Road, there are lots of shops for apparel and fashion products. And this was being done by a student. We were doing it through a student. So he went to a shopkeeper and asked him, I've been standing and watching you. To one customer, you offered this for 2,000 rupees. Okay, and she bought it for 1,500. And the other customer, you offered it for 1,000 rupees. She negotiated for 250 and you gave it. Okay, so he actually explained this. And I want to pick that word, you said aspiration. So he explained it. He said, we look at the customer, the look and feel of the customer. We look into the eye, look at what she's wearing or he's wearing. Okay, and then decide the price. And he says, by the end of the day, we still make money. And he says that when he sold at 250, he said he lost 70% on cost or whatever, 50% on cost. But when he sold at 1,500 rupees, he said, I covered it up. But he said, at the end of the day, net, we are able to make money. I want you to take an example. I want to take you to Takashimaya in Singapore. There was a store in Takashimaya in Singapore, which had about 8-10 years back, had built an algo where the tags actually were digital tags, and the pricing will vary on a minute to minute based on the inventory in the warehouse. Yeah. So if they have only 4 pieces left, okay, they don't wait, it automatically changes. Okay, and if there are 3 people asking for it and 4 pieces are left, prices will go up. So it's like a surge pricing what we do. So we are talking of 2 different stages. One's where we're doing pricing for mass, and second is we're reaching a stage of almost personalized pricing. Yeah. So Uplaksh, I want you to talk about internal collaboration for fashion pricing. You mentioned something about if you can collaborate internally, probably the pricing can be done in a very different way. Okay, let's talk about that. And in the meantime, I don't want to wait for the end to go to audience for question answer. Last whatever 10-15 minutes you've spoken to, if something is in your mind, I would like you to raise your hands. We'll come back. Try to work on that and again go back to you for the Q&A. Yes, please.
So when we talk about internal collaboration and what we spoke earlier, right? It's, I mean, collaboration starts within the house, right? How do departments talk to each other? How do channels talk to each other? How fluid is the system, right? Because we currently have a habit of putting consumers in buckets. This is an SEC A consumer, this is an SEC B consumer, he buys from here. I, as a consumer, buy from every place. I from Zepto, I buy from Blinkit, I from the online places, I go to the malls, I go everywhere, right? So the same consumer is actually moving. The same consumer behaves like an SEC A plus somewhere and behaves like an SEC C somewhere. So the example that I gave you was of my wife, right? For a handbag, she might want to buy a 1 lakh handbag, but maybe she also goes to a Zudio and picks up something, right? So the same consumer is behaving differently. So we should not put a consumer into one bucket. And in the same way, the way we treat our internal systems, inventory, for example, we have a very strong habit of putting channel buckets to it, right? We are trying to reduce that conflict internally by making channel only as a medium to sell and not as the owners of the inventory, right? The channel which can sell that inventory in the most efficient way, in the most effective way, and reaching to the right consumer. So Flipkart does a separate thing for us, Myntra does a separate thing for monobrands, something else, and general trade something else. We believe that we should be there everywhere from a channel standpoint. And hence, our whole philosophy remains that wherever channel or a consumer is pivoting to, we are pivoting with him. So about 5 years back, we were 100% general trade channel organization. Today, it's 50-50. So in 5 years, wherever the consumer we believe is pivoting to, be it online, be it monitoring.
I just have a question for all of you. Do you use technology and algorithms to do forecasting and pricing, or is the pricing done at a product level and then discount depending on demand and supply?
So we use technology very essentially because our business is, we are a technology company got into fashion. So we have native algorithms predicting demand, pricing recommendation. And also, we've actually done one of the good thing is actually we found out, to connect back on the returns, all our bestsellers are below 15% return. So as a business, we actually evolving on how do we look, especially for marketplace. We are saying how do we make sure your supply chain aligned to fulfill the demand for the best-selling items. Again, if you predict high demand, if you stock up too much, again, you will get into a working capital problem. So we have captive factories. We cut as per demands. Every week, the demand engine will give us what is kind of demand we're likely to do for next 4 weeks. We get produced so that we don't stock too much as well.
Okay, anybody has any question till now? Oh, yes, ma'am. Please go ahead. Do you have a mic somewhere? We still have 10 minutes, so we'll do a little bit of 1 or 2 questions, then go back to the panelists.
So like you mentioned that, a lot of times when there are a lot of customer returns, and to keep that into account, that amount is added to the cost of the product. So for somebody who's actually buying the product, they're actually having to bear the cost. Now, a lot of times as a customer, when you visit stores during end of season sales, though you may see that a product is at a certain discount, like a maybe 60 or a 70% discount, but even after discount, you feel that the price points are relatively higher in comparison to the price points of that brand. So I as a customer, a lot of times feel that the brands are actually coming out with a separate range where the pricing is slightly higher, and those products are being sold during end of season sale, saying that a certain discount is there, but actually you're creating a range which is at a hiked up prices. Is that true? And do brands actually do that?
I can tell you as a customer it is true, and I can tell you as a supplier it is true. But which brand does it, that's something that you have to really look into it.
How do actually brands deal with the EOSS? As a customer, I feel that's the way they actually deal with it, giving a 70% discount.
Are you a brand owner and a manufacturer, only customer?
No, so I'm a customer, and I'm actually working with a design institute.
Okay, wonderful. Anybody wants to answer this? A quick one of you.
So,
yeah.
From a channel standpoint, right, every channel has a different role in the organization, right? The way we look at mono-branded is different, the way we look at general trade is different, the way we look at online is different. Do these channels come with their own requirements? Of course, online it's a much more competitive landscape, right? So you need to be competitive from a price point, much more competitive, right? Because consumer can compare very easily, right? The propensity for the consumer to pay is different in all these channels, right? So if the same product is selling across channels in the same way, then it's wrong. We do not do that. The product portfolios are different depending on the channel. So that is where, we do not, I can talk from our brand's point of view. So
Just one thing if I can add.
Sure.
I think the others also raising hands. We'll go back to that. But there's something very interesting he said, and I want to leave it with the audience. Do not bucket your customer in one bucket, because the customer's wardrobe is spread across various product categories. And he mentioned, he said his wife buys a bag worth 1 lakh, and he buys a jockey, whatever, with few hundreds. The differentiation is that in every customer's wardrobe, you have multiple category of products. So it's important for us to know which part of the wardrobe am I servicing for a kind of a customer. And that, I think, is becoming more and more complicated in today's world. Anybody else has a question or anything that they want to pick up? Okay, no. Any comments that you have to add to what she was saying in terms of pricing?
I think largely, if you see most of the brands, I don't know most of the brands, today we are at around 55% kind of sell-through or 60% to the maximum, right? So from that perspective, creating a differential line for USS is slightly difficult, because we have to also liquidate some of those inventories, right? But having said this, what I see that, even if I'm in the market and walking to the brands in the end of season, this is exactly what I told you, that I always see that more of the basics, more of the look-alike and vanilla kind of products are what is available on discounting at many point of time. And wherever you want something which is more aspirational, which is more value addition, and which has some sort of innovation, those are not on discounts, right? So you go to a footwear brand also, the board outside is 70%, flat 70%, but when you go inside, it's those basic line. the key stories are never on discount. So I think from that perspective, I think it's important. Every brand is driving it. It's all about execution. I know it's easy to say that we will do innovation, we do differentiation, but it's about how our brands able to execute it, in a 360-degree kind of an approach. And I think those brands who are able to deliver and able to give differentiated product, and I can keep naming brands, are relatively doing well. They are also able to control on discounts, markdowns, and stuff like that. And brands who are more or not able to create the differentiation and largely me-alike kind of categories where you see high discounting and markdowns and stuff like that.
Okay, I'll come to you. This table looks to be the table of all questions. Huh? I'll come back to you, but I want Nitin to...
Yeah. Point. Just what he spoke. Quick question.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So you mentioned how the discounts are higher on the basics, whereas it's not much on the aspirational. But don't you think it should be other way around? Because people will buy basics no matter what, but the aspirational is not a need, but rather a want. I mean, fashion is a want, but...
This whole table is from a design institute? No, okay. Yeah.
No, I think if you look at the market today, the consumers are very aspirational, and their taste and the fashion requirement is changing a lot. Okay, we also see in our own businesses that what we used to say core and basics, that mix is coming down, and the fashion mix is increasing because consumers are looking for differentiated products, and different channel will have different requirement, right? If you see in online space, because it's more discount led, you will end up buying more of those basics and kind of stuff. But when you're coming to all the way putting efforts and coming to the store, you would like to buy something which is differentiated, which is in trend, which is more what you are desirable kind of a thing, right? So I think each channel will has a different requirement, and I think what I'm seeing more from the brick and mortar side, I think more and more we are seeing and that the need for doing something new differentiation is required if we need to balance both online and offline.
Okay, before you get a question, Nitin, who runs a brand called Moomaya, I think he has got a very unique model, and I was very intrigued with the model that he's got. And it is so intriguing that he said he has copyrighted the model. Okay, but share with the audience that model of yours of just in time and what you do. Short and brief.
Sure. So we are a fashion technology company. We work on a unique model that is called just-in-time garments manufacturing. So we've solved this particular problem of overproduction basically into two parts. So the first part is wherein we are able to showcase multiple prints and designs via our AR/VR technology to customers, and these designs look as real as you look at it from a brand's point of view, from a customer standpoint. And we have the luxury to offer new designs every week to the customers into different prints and patterns. On the back end, we have created an automation in the field of garments manufacturing, wherein we're able to create a particular order after the order has punched it into the system within 48 hours from scratch to dispatch from white, gray fabric. And we have sort of 60 to 70 kind of materials, both in natural as well as polyester blends available with us. So within that, we only print the meterage that's been required for that particular size, and then it goes to a different automated machinery when it gets cut into the ordered pattern in next 60 seconds, and we get the garment assembled in next 60 minutes via an app-enabled process. So the whole model was, I think in 1977, automobiles had the same problem. They were launching a car, and when the car did not sell, they were selling it at a lower price, just kind of a markdown. So people started waiting for the markdowns to come in, and then they'll buy the car. They think that that's a big problem for them. They're launching the cars and it's not selling. People are waiting.
So Nitin, in that case, you don't have any inventory?
No.
Made up inventory?
Not at all. So we only have white fabrics as raw material. So consider us as a well or castrated kitchen, wherein we have the raw materials available, and from the
But
menu.
even after having 35% return, you must be making a lot of money, yeah? Yeah, because all of them said the problem is inventory, no?
So that is the problem which needs to be solved, and that's what we did.
Wow, wonderful. I think you should, those of you who are really, really interested, I've been in this business for 33 years now, running a department store. I have written a book, it is there available for sale. I'm also doing a pitch, they don't allow me otherwise. Yeah. So this is unique, and I would request the organizers that you should give Nitin a 15 minutes time for him to really talk about the model. Because this is a model where I know you have copyrighted, but in India we know how to go around the copyright. So at least so many people can do. Or what you could do is franchise to all these young people who can do this business. This is really, really good. This is one of the biggest problems of our industry that we are sitting on. I have just 50 seconds left. No more questions from this table, please. Anybody else has a question on that side? I'll come to you. No, anyhow, they have given the onus of questions to you all. Go ahead, ma'am. Give it here, please. Here. Here.
Yeah, so I had a small doubt. Now, for iOS users, I have an iPhone, so now I see a difference between when I open, like, let's say, flight charges or even going for e-commerce platforms. I'm from Agio, so when I look at a product on Agio itself on my iPhone versus when I open it on a Windows desktop, I can see the difference in pricing. So how do we cater to this sort of a price surge or this sort of a problem?
Highly personalized service, ma'am. It's been personalized to you, knowing that you have an iPhone and you bought the latest one last week, you better pay a better price. How many of you have iPhones here in this room? Look at this, 60% of them.
But then now, actually, okay, tell you the truth, I'm an Android user, but I see a lot of people in my office who are just in their 20s and they have iPhones but are working on Windows systems. They are interns and they say, we don't have the money for these outfits, but want the outfits. So I'm just trying to understand how to play the price game here because we are sitting with...
Anybody has an answer? I have some thoughts. Anybody has an answer on how to play the price game when it comes to identifying the source of the customer and accordingly pricing?
I'm not sure if we know that where the customer is getting logged in from. Is it from an iPhone or an Android or a small phone which they're trying to do? That's
we
the data
do
which
know
it has.
because...
Yeah.
At Agio, we do know, right? And this price disparity sort of also leads to a little bit of break in the authenticity parameter
So you're
for the
talking
brand.
about Agio example. This is what
No.
you do. Oh, okay.
It
I
could
thought-
be any market, right? Even aviation,
No,
hospitality, right? You have that problem.
To me, issues
So
like
customization of prices can also build a certain sort of disparity with the brand's promise in terms of how you build authenticity, right?
Absolutely.
So this is what you're saying is done through the marketplaces, right? It's not the brands who are selling it, it's the marketplaces driving this identification or pricing strategy, right? And they treat consumers in buckets, right? Someone who has not bought from them for 6 months, they'll give him an offer to get him back to the table, right? And similar, and we do a CRM campaign around it. So you will say that same shoe now, since you're a 6-month consumer who didn't buy, now gets a 300 rupees discount on that particular product. But that's how we get you back into the store, right? So there will always be some disparity. Overall, if the construct of the product remains same, I think it still remains fair.
I have only one solution for our country, and that is we have to really see that the customer rights keeps going up and up and up. I mean, you as a customer, if you have found that because left-hand Android you bought and right-hand iOS you bought, and you got a differential pricing, I mean, you have the Instas of the world, please shout. Please shout. That's the only way we can actually rationalize things from a country and a customer's point of view. But as manufacturers and brands, I think there are lots and lots of issues. I don't know how much we have been able to solve, but there was a perspective which the panelists brought on the table, and thank you very much. Thank you for doing this. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.